Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Before we begin this story, let me know where you are watching from, and I want you to do something for me. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's begin. She called me Mom. For years I baked her birthday cakes, held her hand during hard times, and loved her like the daughter I never had. I never imagined the hands I held would one day push me off a cliff. And in that moment, as I fell, I knew my only chance to protect my son and everything my husband and I had built was to pretend I was already dead. The salt-kissed wind on the coastal path was a familiar comfort, a whisper from the sea that had been the backdrop to my entire 68 years. I, Margaret, walked these cliffs with my husband Andrew, for 40 of them. Now, I walked them with my son, David, and his wife, Clara, on what was supposed to be a gentle family weekend. I should have known. I should have seen the calculation in Clara's eyes when she suggested this specific trail. Raven's Point, notorious for its sudden, sheer drops. She'd been so insistent. The view is spiritual, Margaret. It will do us all good to get some perspective. Perspective. What a bitter word that has become. For 5 years I had watched this woman weave herself into our family. David, my good-hearted, trusting boy, saw only her vibrant energy. I saw the subtle manipulations, the way she'd steer him away from our weekly lunches, the dismissive comments about my old-fashioned furniture, the heirlooms I cherished. It was a slow, insidious campaign to erase me, to become the sole center of David's world. The final straw was the will. Andrew left me comfortable, but the true gem was our home, Seabourn Cottage, perched on a bluff a few miles from these very cliffs. It was paid for, its value now astronomical. My will left it directly to David. But Clara, I learned from a slip of the lawyer's tongue, had been asking pointed questions about life estates and probate. She wasn't just waiting for me to die, she was worried I'd lived too long. That day on the path, her mask finally slipped. David had lingered behind to take a call, leaving the two of us alone at the summit. The view was indeed breathtaking. A vast expanse of churning, steel-blue ocean under a brooding sky. It's a powerful thing, isn't it? Clara said, her voice losing its usual saccharine tone. How easily something beautiful can become dangerous. Respect is what it requires, I replied, my eyes on the horizon. Respect for its power. Respect doesn't pay the bills, Margaret. She took a step closer. David and we have opportunities. A startup in the city. The capital required is significant. That cottage. It's a noose around our future. My blood ran cold. That cottage is my home. It was Andrew's. It will be David's. Will it? She asked, a cruel smile playing on her lips. You're healthy as a horse. You could live another 30 years. By then, our chance will be gone. David's chance. You claim to love him, but you're willing to let his dreams die for your sentimentality. The audacity took my breath away. I would never. You are, she hissed, cutting me off. Every day you live in that house. You are. But an accident. A tragic fall on an unstable cliff path. The grieving son would, of course, inherit. He'd be devastated. Lost. He'd need me more than ever. And I'd know exactly how to comfort him. By building a new future. Free from the past. I saw it then. The absolute resolve in her eyes. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thought. It was a plan. She had brought me here to kill me. I turned to run, to call for David. But I was too slow. She didn't shove me in a rage. It was a cold, efficient, two-handed thrust to my back. The force was shocking. My feet left the solid earth, and for a horrifying second, I was suspended in the air, the wind roaring in my ears. Clara's impassive face, the last thing I saw before the world turned into a violent kaleidoscope. I don't know how long the fall lasted. It was a brutal symphony of impact. I slammed into a rocky ledge, the crack of my ribs, a sickening percussion. Then I was tumbling, rolling, my body battered by stone and thorny gorse, until I crashed into a final, jarring stop in a deep, peat-filled gully, hidden from the path above. Agony was a white-hot fire in my chest and leg. But my mind, sharpened by a lifetime of resilience and the sheer, ice-cold clarity of betrayal, was terrifyingly clear. She will look. She will need to be sure. So, I played dead. I forced my body into absolute stillness, despite the screaming pain. I let my head loll at a grotesque angle, my mouth slack. I stared at a patch of damp moss an inch from my eyes and focused on its intricate beauty, an anchor in the storm of pain. I did not make a sound. Minutes later, I heard her. "Margaret! Oh my God, Margaret!" Her voice was a perfect mimicry of panic and despair. I heard the scrabble of stones as she carefully picked her way down part of the slope. I felt her gaze on me. I held my breath, my heart hammering against my broken ribs. I was a corpse. I was a piece of the landscape. After an eternity, I heard her leave, her cries for help fading into the wind. A performance for an audience that was now approaching my son. The cold began to seep in then. A deep, bone-aching chill. The sky darkened. I knew I would die for real if I stayed. But the will to live, to expose this viper, to protect my son from her, was a furnace inside me. My survival was no longer a passive hope. It was an active, defiant choice. Moving was an agony I cannot adequately describe. Every inch was a victory paid for in pain. I used my one good arm to drag myself, my broken leg trailing uselessly. I bit down on a piece of my own jacket to stifle the screams. I don't know how long it took. I only remember the blessed sight of a light. Not the sun, but the flashlight of a volunteer from the local mountain rescue, who had been called to search for the poor, missing elderly woman. The hospital was a blur of lights and pain. David was there, his face ravaged, clutching my hand. And Clara, she was magnificent. Her eyes were swollen. Her body trembled with what looked like genuine shock. She was the picture of a devoted daughter-in-law. "The doctors say it's a miracle, Mom," David sobbed. "A broken leg, 3 broken ribs, a concussion. But you're alive." Clara leaned in, her hand on my arm, her grip just a little too tight. "You gave us such a scare," she whispered, her eyes drilling into mine, searching for a crack in my facade. "You must have gotten too close to the edge. You don't remember anything, do you? It's all a blur." I looked from my son's sincere, grief-stricken face to hers. I saw the unspoken threat. She needed my silence, my confusion, to complete her narrative. She needed to be the sole interpreter of this tragedy. So, I gave her what she wanted. I let my eyes go vague and watery. I let a tear slip down my cheek. My voice, when I found it, was a frail, thin thread. I don't remember, David," I mumbled, clutching his hand. "It's all dark." I was looking at the sea, and then, nothing. I turned my head slightly and met Clara's gaze. Just nothing. The relief that washed over her was so potent it was almost a physical force in the room. She thought she had won. She believed the old woman was broken, both in body and mind, her spirit and her memory shattered. But the woman who crawled out of that gully was not the woman who fell. I was a ghost, and I had just been given the power to haunt her with impunity. My convalescence became my war room. I went to stay with my sister, Marjorie, the only person I trusted completely. To the outside world, I was a fading, traumatized woman. But behind closed doors, I was a general plotting a campaign. A direct accusation was useless. It was my word against hers. And I was the confused old woman with a head injury. I needed proof. I needed to make her expose herself. My first move was financial. I called David, my voice trembling with manufactured anxiety. The money, David. The savings your father left. I'm so worried. With my mind, what if I make a mistake? What if someone takes advantage? As I knew he would, he delegated the task of helping Mom with her finances to the ever-capable Clara. I gave her limited access, watching carefully. She was cautious at first. Then, she grew bold. A small, unauthorized transfer for a new water heater. A forged signature on a document to change a minor investment. She was testing the waters, seeing how far my confusion would let her go. I let it happen. I was building a rope, and she was happily weaving it herself. But I needed more. I needed something that would shatter David's belief in her irrevocably. I began to talk, in my vague old lady way, about the fall. Not the truth, but a twisted version she had created. David, I'd say, my eyes wide with feigned fear. That day, I remember a bird. A large, black bird. It flew right at me. Clara tried to warn me. She shouted, but it was too late. I'd trail off, looking confused. Or was it? Was it a man? A man in a dark jacket. I was sowing seeds of doubt, not about her guilt, but about her story. David would mention it to her. Mom says she saw a bird. I could imagine the panic it would cause Clara. Was I remembering? Was my mind piecing it together? My masterstroke was a gift. For their anniversary, I gave them a beautiful, antique silver picture frame. What I didn't tell them was that nestled inside, behind the photo, was a tiny, voice-activated digital recorder. A desperate, perhaps unethical measure. But I was a desperate woman. Weeks passed. The financial thefts grew bolder. Clara felt secure, believing me to be a harmless, fading relic. The recorder did its job. All the recording was saved daily to the cloud. And every night before I went to sleep, I listened to her conversations with David, her subtle manipulations. And then, one night I hit the jackpot. David, troubled by my erratic memories, had confronted her gently. The recorder captured it all. David. She just seemed so fixated on that day. It's like she's trying to remember something. Clara. A tense laugh. She's confused, sweetheart. You can't take anything she says seriously. Her mind is gone. It was a tragic accident. That's all. David. I know. But she mentioned you shouting. Clara. Voice sharpening. What? What did she say? David. Just that you shouted. She couldn't make out the words. A long pause. Clara. Voice low. Venomous. Listen to me, David. That senile old woman is a liability. She's going to destroy us with her babbling. We need to get a power of attorney. We need to put her in a home before she accuses me of something. Something terrible. I can't live like this. There it was. Not a confession, but the next best thing. The threat. The malice. The proof that her concern was a lie. I waited for their next visit to my sister's house. I was sitting in my armchair, a blanket over my knees, the picture of frailty. Clara was tense, her smile brittle. "Clara, dear," I said, my voice soft. "Would you be a darling and fetch my photo album? The blue one on the shelf? There's a picture of Andrew on Raven's Point I'd like David to see." The moment she left the room, I looked at my son. "David, play this," I said, my voice suddenly clear and steady, pressing the small recorder into his hand. "Don't ask questions. Just press play." He looked bewildered, but did as I asked. As Clara's voice filled the room, "That senile old woman is a liability." I watched the color drain from his face. The confusion, the hurt, and finally, the dawning, horrific understanding. Clara returned with the album, her smile fading as she saw David's face, as she heard her own voice echoing in the quiet room. The confrontation was quiet, and all the more devastating for it. There were no screams, just a series of cold, hard questions from David that she could not answer. The financial records I provided were the final nail. She had not only tried to kill me, she had been stealing from me. And from him. She didn't go to jail. The cliff fall was impossible to prove. But she was exposed. The beautiful, caring facade was shattered forever in David's eyes. He filed for divorce. She was cast out of the family, her reputation in tatters among those who knew the truth. My revenge was not in her imprisonment, but in her eradication from our lives. It was in the way David now looks at me, not with pity for a feeble old woman, but with a profound, awed respect. He sold his city apartment and moved into Seabourn Cottage with me. We are healing together. The bond between mother and son stronger than ever. Forged in the fire of betrayal, Clara pushed me off a cliff, believing it would make her the queen of my kingdom. But she underestimated the tenacity of an old woman who had built that kingdom with love, and who would fight with every ounce of her wisdom and strength to protect it. She thought she was killing a memory. Instead, she made me a force of nature. And I am still here, in my home by the sea, watching the cliffs, and knowing that I have secured my legacy and my son's future against the storm. So, I leave you with this question. Have you ever faced a betrayal that changed who you are? Did it break you? Or did it reveal a strength you never knew you had? This story is about more than revenge. It's about resilience. It's a reminder that no matter your age, your spirit is your most powerful weapon. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about the importance of family, legacy, and protecting what's yours, then I need you to do two things for me. First, share your own story of resilience in the comments below. Let's create a community of survivors right here. And second, if you believe that justice, in its own time, always finds a way, then hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support tells the algorithm that stories with depth and heart deserve to be heard. Thank you for watching. Remember, stand your ground, trust your instincts, and never, ever underestimate the quiet strength of a mother's love. Until next time.